Ready?
I'm ready.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Look at this matching
I got
jumpsuit.
I mean, it's a sweatsuit. Pajamas every day.
Why not?
Yeah, that's
you
it.
wear it on stage.
Yeah.
You could, this genre.
I probably
You could, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Throw on a dad hat.
There you go.
Keep the get the tennis shoes a little grass.
Yeah.
And you'd be just fine.
Get
you
the
fit
golf
right
shoes.
in.
Get Jeff's golf shoes from down there.
Perfect. We're on a tour bus. Man, it's been a while since I've been on a tour bus doing a conversation, since before the pandemic, to be honest. And who better to do that with than Winston from Parkway Drive.
So, hi.
Thank you for doing this, man. It's so good to see
Thanks
you, and it's so good to see this tour. Listen, we've talked about it. We've talked about it multiple times. This tour, this show, this Parkway Drive, this spectacle that we've seen on YouTube and live concert videos, and of course the DVD you guys put out, or the Blu-ray, or whatever you want to say, you put out, the documentary. We've seen it. We've heard about it. But in the United States, we haven't seen it in person until right now.
Yeah.
How important is it to finally be in some arenas and doing this?
Oh, really important. Yeah. I mean, this is what we do. That's the thing, and we know like it's been a very interesting evolution as a band to be at different points in different places, and know that like your evolution has to essentially take a backward step in some markets just because you're not a big enough band there, which is completely understandable. But at the same time, you as an artist want to give the audience a true representation of what you have.
Right.
And at this point in time, like, this was the one where we're like, right, full catch-up time. There's no more like, hey, you guys get a stripped back version of what we do. You get like the Parkway Beast, fully formed. That's the thing. So it's meant a lot for us to be able to do this. Like, we literally booked this tour just with the full show in mind. Like, we had no idea how many tickets we were going to sell. We're just like, we want to give the North American fans what everyone else gets.
Right.
And if the rooms are full or the rooms have 10 people in it, it doesn't matter. We're still going to put that show on because that's what we do and that's who we are. And it's a very different experience to everything else that you've seen from this band so far.
Okay, so the time we get to post this, there's still some tour dates left on the on the run, obviously, in North America.
Yeah.
What is it? I mean, what makes this so different? Because obviously we've seen it in the theaters and we've seen it at the festivals, and it's the standard. You're great, don't get me wrong. Yeah. But it's the standard, metal show or rock show or whatever you want to say. What makes this particular thing so different? Maybe besides the spinny drum.
It's basically.
Although the spinny drums are really cool.
Oh yeah, it's the level. it's everything that the show actually brings. The bigger stage that the band has got over the years, the more that we've adapted our craft and our passion for what we actually want to present. And what we want to present is something more than simply just like, here's a set of songs in a room, and there's a bunch of lights at the back that kind of just distract from it. The way that we realized a long time ago we wanted to put on a show in these places is to heighten and create an experience that you don't get anywhere else, that you can't. It's something that engages all of the senses. It's something that makes it hit harder when it hits harder. It's theatrical to the point where you know the moments that you're creating in terms of the entire set flow, how the ebb and flow is going to work in the complete package of what you give on the night, and how that entire thing comes together to create something that is unique to what we do. And there's still many levels to what we have to offer with this, and this is just the first time that you're really getting an idea of what this band is capable of. And there's still many levels to go, which is really nice considering.
So it's still just a taste.
Oh yeah, it's still just a taste. That's the thing, which is really hilarious because by the time you get to the crescendo of this show, every time I walk out, I'm like, that's got to be every single person in the room with their telephone out right now. I'm like, it is it's very hard to explain until you get to witness the two variations. I've seen what it's like to be in a band and drop a heavy part, and for people to go, whoa, damn, that makes me want to move or whatever. And then I've seen us drop a heavy part and also the flames hit at the right time and the lighting be correct at the right time, and it literally make people go, oh, yikes.
We just got a close up. That's all right.
Yeah.
Shake it, daddy.
And and you feel what those extra elements do to the senses of those people.
Yeah.
It's much different, like hearing the impact of something than it is feeling, smelling, tasting the impact of the music when it hits you, because trust me, all those senses are in play when you're using these different effects and you're using them in the way that you want to do to curate that moment. It all hits harder.
I can't wait to see it. You have, because again, we've talked about it so many times that it's like I know me as a fan and a fan of Parkway Drive for a long time, it's like I just want to see this thing. I was so excited when it was going to come back in 2019, 2020, and it didn't happen for obvious reasons. So I'm happy it's here, and I'm so happy for you guys that you're able to do it.
Cheers. Yeah, I'm happy as well. Like it's been, like I said, it's been a while coming, and I'm really stoked that we've got a second chance at doing this after the pandemic hit.
Well, here's an interesting question. If you need to walk back through,
heading through yokes to a manager yogi heading past, taking business.
Disregard the message I left you before. Because you had that tour booked in early 2020.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be Parkway Drive and Kill Switch Engage, and it was these size arenas.
Yeah.
It was these big venues. There was going to be some festivals and all that, and it obviously didn't happen. Were you worried that at that time you weren't going to be able to bring it back?
I mean,
the financial strapping, the physicality of it, all of it.
Dude, all of it. Like at the time, we were just like, I wonder if we're ever going to get banned anymore, because everyone did that.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, it was very interesting coming back and going, who are we as a band in terms of it was so long between our last full North American tour and being able to do relaunch ourselves over here, that amount of time that we're away, people literally move on with their lives. It's one thing going, I'm part of a music scene, but 4 or 5 years out of someone's life, that's enough to be into something and out of something and completely fucking forget about it.
Yeah.
Excuse the language there, but it's not something where you're like, oh damn, you didn't hold out for something. 5 years changes lives, let alone 5 years in a pandemic. So we have no idea what the reaction or what expectation to have coming back to this market would be, if people still remembered us, if people wanted to see us, if people even knew who we were. It was a really strange one to do, but our theory was if there was one thing that the pandemic taught us, was just do what you want to do, and what we want to do is present who we are on stage. And we were willing to just go, you know what, book these rooms, put this tour together, which is all Australian bands as well. We're we're gonna do our first run in venues this size. Let's bring all Australian bands and just showcase what Australia has, and just do it and hope that it works. And I'd rather present that than just come back and let's feel it out a little bit, and let's take 2 steps back. I'm no, we're still taking the step forward. We're just every dice we have, we're on the table, roll them as hard as you can and hope they all come up well.
So this tour is all Australian bands, like you just said.
Yeah.
There's some amazing talent.
Yeah.
In Australia.
Yes, there is.
And it's not just bands that sound like AC/DC. And I think for a long time that might have been a little bit of a misconception between AC and then Airborne hit. And, they're great, don't get me wrong. But they sounded just like AC/DC.
Yeah.
And they're great. I've seen them live. I recommend it. But Amity Affliction, Make Them Suffer, and so on.
Yeah.
There really is a great scene
100%.
coming from that area of this type of hard-hitting music.
Yeah, 100%. And it's only getting stronger as well.
Really?
And it's really all these bands tour on their own without us. It's not we're oh God, we have to lift these bands up. They're killing it worldwide. It's awesome.
Oh yeah,
it's just,
I've been to a couple Amity Affliction
exactly.
shows.
That's the thing. It's Make Them Suffer, North Lane, Amity Affliction. We're just sick. Everyone's available. Let's do this thing. Because as far as I know, we haven't been able to do that before. And it's very, I've said it every night on this tour, but it's very hard to explain to, especially to people who come from the entertainment center of the planet, which is North America, what it means to be able to do.
Don't tell the British that.
Yeah. What it means to be able to to do an all-Australian tour, because everything that we have come from as bands has not been from an established industry. In terms of the heavy music genre, the alternative music genre in Australia, it is still and always has been, very underground. Very, very underground. Like, it's very independent. When we all started as bands, we were playing to tens of people. Like, the idea of a couple of hundred people at a show was mind-blowing. The idea of 1,000 people at a show was unheard of. So to be this far into our careers and be able to, like, in our home country, have tens of thousands of people come to our shows, and be able to do a tour around the world, like around North America, with just Australian bands, have all of those bands be recognised as quality bands, because they are, is really something. Because
awesome.
All of us can relate to where we started. We're all there at that same point in time, and we all built it to a point where this is something which is recognised, which is really cool.
It makes you proud of the scene.
Yeah, man.
Little hometown pride. So
yeah, dude, 100%, and it's a lot. Like, it's, like I said, very hard to articulate. But yeah, it means something more than just like, oh, I'm on tour with a bunch of my friends. Like, this really is a milestone in the Australian heavy music scene in general. What's happening on this tour right now. And it's just really, really cool, and every band's crushing it every night. And the rad thing is, like, I'm meeting people who, it's nuts as someone who's been in a band for 20 years, that there's people coming to this show going, oh man, I love Northlane, Make Them Suffer. Never even heard of Parkway. I'm 18 years old, and I'm like, dude, we were doing this band 2 years before you were born. Now I feel really old, but that's what's awesome. I'm like, that's when I realize how, like, the legacy that we actually have, and the fact that our scene has been able to grow for so long, and that people are coming from different, like, generations and different eras of either our band's career or heavy music in general. Like, it's really, really neat. Like,
and worldwide.
Yeah, it's sick, man. It's really sick.
It's very cool.
Yeah.
Let's switch gears a little bit and talk about Darker Still for a minute.
Cool.
Because last time we talked, it was right before the record had come out. It's out, and you just released the title track as a single.
Yeah.
This is curious because you know exactly where I'm going with this. Yeah. Heavy band, Parkway Drive, metal. You know, every great band has a great ballad. Don't get me wrong. And it's an intense one, whistling and all of it. But like, what was the decision to release that particular song as an actual radio single?
Oh, we like it.
You like them all.
Yeah. No. I like. I mean, for me, like, that's. I mean, when we're talking about milestones, that song's a milestone for us. Okay. It's one that we really like. It's my proudest moment on that album, and I think that goes for the rest of the guys as well, because it's like, we're kind of a band that's worked in reverse in terms of, like, our musical evolution. Like, we started off as heavy and as intense as we could be.
That first album, brutal.
Yeah, and the more we've gone on, the more we've wanted to, like, expand what we create, and rather than it going heavier and crazier, it's become like we've pushed more into the light and the different shades and the different colors of, like, the musical rainbow, rather than it just being like pitch black. And that's been the challenge for us. Like, the challenge hasn't been how fast and heavy can you play. It's like, how much subtlety can you bring into it. And for a long time we've wanted to create a song like this, but there was literally 2 albums before this where we had this vision in mind and didn't have the skills to be able to articulate it musically. And this was the one where we're like, you've got 3 years of pandemic to do this song. You have no excuses left. Just learn how to do it. So that's what we did, and I love it. It harks back to so many influences that we have as people and as musicians, which haven't crept in before, especially to this degree. And I think it's also a wonderful point of not only an artistic, like, flag post of, like, we can be this, but also for plenty of people who have never heard our band before, of being able to just hear Parkway in general. That's the thing. Like, it's the softest thing we've ever created, but it still has the roots well and truly exactly where they've always been. It still has the ethic and the heart and the passion and the soul. It's just probably the most expansive thing we've ever created. So yeah.
You know, the melody within Parkway Drive, there's something very familiar, very comfortable with it. Whether it's a brand new song or you go back and listen to Ira, which we'll talk about in a second because I just celebrated a birthday. But there's something, if you listen to a Parkway Drive song, there's just something very familiar.
Yep.
Whether I've heard the song before or not, it feels like I have.
Yeah.
Not to say everything sounds the same, because it doesn't, but there is something there. I don't know if you can touch on that, but there's
100%.
There's just this familiarity.
We're built on the melody. Like, that's the thing. It's like underneath. We realized very early on that the balance of what we do is between the heaviness and the melody.
Mm-hmm.
And the melody is so much of the character, and a lot of the melody comes in through the guitar lines, because when we started out, like, I had no ability melodically, vocally, like none. It was never in our DNA. That's the thing, and that slowly changed over the years. But that melodic line, that melodic character and thread that's always run through our music was held by the guitars. And the more that it's gone on, the more that we've made space for those melodies to shine. And Jeff has a very unique character in the way he plays. Like, it's not, none of our music is written from a perspective of being trained musicians. Like, we can't read music. We know what we're doing to a very vague degree. But we know, but basically everything's just played by ear and played by soul. And that Jeff just plays what he enjoys playing. It really is a reflection of who he is. There's no theory behind it. It's just him going where his heart takes him, and that's always been there from day one. And the more we step back and give him space, the more that is given room to breathe. So that's the thing. Like, they're all, what you're hearing in those melodies is just Jeff's playing. That's it. Like, that's at the core of it, which is that's why it's unique, because he's just one guy. Like, it's just one guy creating that. And, like, obviously my voice is always there, and it's changed. It changes, and the characters change, and the melody that I add to it is always a counterpoint to that. But underneath that, on the musical side, his melody is always the core of the band's melody.
So not to go back to the pandemic, but during the pandemic, I was bored.
Yeah.
As a lot of us were. And I was posting, and a lot of them have been taken down, thank you, Universal Music Group. But I was posting playthroughs on my guitar of just songs, for whatever reason.
Yeah.
A song, and do it. Anniversary, something in the news, whatever it may be. And I did a playthrough of Vice Grip. Mm-hmm. And that's when I realized it. When I learned how to play Jeff's parts in that song, I'm like, man, this is just, there's something so that feels right about this particular melody.
Right, interesting.
You know what I mean? And it just and it was so much fun to just play through. It's not overly complicated, but it's complicated enough. I don't know, man. It's good. And speaking of Vice Grip, obviously that album goes down as a pretty, at this point, legendary Parkway Drive.
Oh, 100%, turning point, 100% for us. So yeah, and that song in particular, that song and that riff was the turning point in the band's career. That was the point where we let go of the chain for Jeff, basically, because like I don't know if I've told this story before, but
we're getting exclusive, guys.
Well, possibly we'll see. But that song started out very, very differently. We, like, before Ire and before Vice Grip, we were at a turning point in the band's career where it's like, that is the sliding doors moment. Like, we were at a point where we really had felt like if we would continue doing what we were doing, it would be recycling. Mm-hmm. And recycling simply because it was safe. And it was safe. Like, we were an established band, we were doing really well. But creatively, we were like, we hit a wall in what we wanted to do within the sound that we had. And we were pushing the boundaries of what else we wanted to bring in, but the boundaries weren't being fully surrendered to, in the sense of, like, we want to do this, but just dial it back to fit into the old mold. And we wrote Vice Grip as a very, very different song, and we jammed it out, and we've got recordings of it and everything, and it sat there for like 3 weeks, and then Ben and I got a call from Jeff. It's like, come in and jam this song out, because I've rewritten Vice Grip, and it's nothing like anything
That's a
we have.
moment.
Oh, dude, it was like, he's like, it's completely different. Just trust me, you're gonna freak out, It's completely different, but it's really good. Just trust me on it. Come and listen to it. And we sat down and we're just like, the hell is this riff? Because before that, it was literally all just like, the main song was just the breakdown of that. Like, that was the main riff that just chugged over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Which was cool, but it lost the impact after like 8 bars.
Right.
And we sit down and we've got Jeff just riffing his heart out with that riff. And we're like, this is different, dude. And he's like, yeah, but I can't stop listening to it. And we're like, okay, leave it with us. And like 6 hours later, I messaged Ben and I'm like, I can't stop listening to this song. Like, I can't get that riff out of my head. Like, and he's like, yeah, me too. What the hell is with that riff? And that's when we really realized, was like, Jeff really wants the riff. Like, there's something else in his playing that like, that obviously we can see that he's touched on previously, but we were like, dial it back a bit, man, just dial it back a touch. And this was him going, no, this is how I want to play. And we're like, okay, go for it. Let's surrender to that. And we wrote Aya off the back of that, off the back of like, where the riff in previously would be like, wind it back, buddy, it's got to fit in the box. We were like, no, let's just reimagine what the box is to take in everything that we're capable of here. And that was like, Aya was the dice roll of like, there's a whole new set of tools which we can work with here. We just got to really put our minds to use of how we're going to reimagine the capabilities of this band. And yeah, Vice Grip and that one riff was the point where the chain was just kind of just thrown on the ground and Jeff just ran off, which I'm so stoked with.
Well, I think that song is still in the. A lot of people still can't stop listening to it.
Oh, 100%, man. It was the first full-on anthem that this band has had.
Yeah.
And it was like, it was really weird. That was the first time where, it was the first moment where you watched Parkway legitimately explode, for better or worse, in terms of people's perceptions. Like, we put out that song and watched people just go, this band is dead. I hate this band now. Like, the worst things you could ever imagine. And we're like, whoa, shit. Ooh, this is very interesting. But at the same time, like, we started playing it live. Literally the same day that it came out, we started playing it live. And like, we watched it go from that same day, 20 people at a 300-person show in France, like, know what's going on, to literally 3 days later, that being the biggest song that we had ever written live.
Wow.
Like, it being like a straight up anthem 3 days later, and us just going, oh, okay. Like, yeah, just grain of salt here. Like, like this is the true representation of what it actually is. And I mean, that's the thing as well. Like, it's not, people have opinions on everything and they're completely entitled to. I'm not ever someone to say, no, you have to like this thing. But for us, we always loved that song, and that's always what we've run on. We've been like, if you enjoy it and you enjoy creating it and you enjoy listening to it, it's the only quality test we have. It really isn't. Like, we can't make something to please. And like, the day that you do start ticking boxes and going, do you like this? Please tell me you like this. Like, it's the day that you've just completely compromised all artistic integrity in the first place. So why bother with that?
Well, and generally speaking, when an artist does that, nobody else appreciates the effort either.
Exactly, that's the thing. Everyone has a different, like, a different ear and a different perspective and a different viewpoint, and that's all completely valid. But at the end of the day, we're the ones writing and creating, and we're the ones that we do it because we love it. And I love creating that song, and that's the thing.
To bring that full circle, to take a page from what we're gonna see on the drums tonight. Which I can't get over. Tommy Lee again, not the Parkway Drive drummer. It obviously worked, because here we are. It's the end of September. It's 2023. We're on a very nice tour bus. We're backstage outside of an arena.
Yeah.
And you guys are headlining.
Yeah.
To a few thousand people tonight.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be explosive, and it's gonna be amazing. And now you have a ballad on the radio. Like,
yeah,
but you still have this heavy intensity. It's the thing.
Oh, yeah.
Even not to dig on the whole ballad thing a little bit, but even Darker Still has this, and a Deathless song from Iron, even just to go back.
Yeah.
There's still this intensity, kind of almost evil sound, that Parkway Drive has. That's still there.
There's a darkness to it. there's just there's a darkness to it no matter what. Like because that's what, I mean, it's an interesting one to articulate, because obviously like we know each other, and you know I'm a happy, genuine human, but a lot of that is to do with the fact that like I realized a long time ago that what I get out of Parkway is a place to pour that aspect of my personality which lightens me as a person, and that is like we are very aware of the darker nature that comes out through our music, and it's there intentionally as well, because we have tried writing happier songs, like, and when we write them they don't sound correct, and for all of the positivity and the smiling guys that you see on stage, like we're very aware of of what it takes to create Parkway, and there's a genuine darkness to it, and that it's a very strange, like I said, it's a strange thing to sit down with a bunch of happy, nice, smiling dudes and just go, this song's too happy, like and go, no, but like this isn't correct, this isn't the sound of what we actually do, and this doesn't feel right. So yeah, like it is, I mean, the core of what we do always has an intensity. There is always going to be a heaviness to it. It's about re-articulating what that heaviness means, and pushing at the boundaries of the elasticity of music and what we do. And the thing is as well, with like something like Darker Still, as a song, it's created to be a certain point in the album that is Darker Still, which is obviously one of the lighter, more epic moments that the album revolves around, which has its counterpoints in some very, very heavy, more chaotic moments. So that's the thing. That's the thing. So the more we go on, the more we like pushing the edges and finding new areas that we can exist as artists while still having our roots very firmly in place. And that's part of the joy of being an artist, and not having to just go, you know what, now we're just going to be something completely different and subscribe to reinvention in general. It's not like we ever want to completely reinvent the band. We just want to see how far the branches can grow.
Well, the placement on the album, you listen to the next song and it ends with a breakdown. So still,
that's it.
It's still there.
Yeah.
The cohesiveness of this record, I really feel like you guys really, and we already talked about where that sort of comes from, and not to keep using the word dark, but the darkness that you guys were in, and that you were in, Winston.
Yeah.
Man, it really, you guys created something real special.
Cheers. Thanks. I agree. But that's only my perspective. But honestly, like I agree, because like the very personal thing about it as well is like, obviously it was created in a time of like strife for us as people, and strife for society and the planet and everything. Like there was no peace in that record. It was created through a journey of personal discovery, and that goes individually for every member of the band, and the world as well, and to have it be able to be articulated in a way that feels very genuine means a lot, and to be able to come out the other side of that and find new meaning in the art that you created, and be able to understand to an even greater degree on the other side of the creation really what you were going through at that point in time, is something that that does give me a sense of pride, because it's there's no bullshit in there. Like it's not like I look back and I'm like, you really just chucked that in for no real reason. It's the thing where you really understand what the soul was trying to say to you at that moment, and why something came out of you. And it's one of the deeper moments in my life, to being able to create that album and then look back at it and go, man, yeah, I can really understand where the language that came out of me came from, and I might not have even understood it at the point of time of creation, but I understand it even more now, which is really interesting. It's a really awesome experience to have. Yeah.
With that being said, I don't have anything to follow that up with. Winston, cheers, dude. Thank you for doing this. Totally appreciate it.
Oh.
Obviously, Darker Still, the album, the tour going on right now. So happy for you guys. So happy you've been able to come out of that and be able to do this.
Me too, man. Me too.
Here.
Thank you very much. Awesome. Yeah. Finger guns.